quite a few have found the way, thanking me.
Yeah, I had a quick look.
Hadn't even heard of it, to be honest. I was waiting for the next series, and obviously they did this instead of the next series.
Well, it's got to come to an end soon there. Unless they do one more season now and then that's it.
You never know.
We all age, but it's got to be time to stop series.
Yes, that's true. It is 16 degrees cold for us. Evening, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Are you a Red Dwarf fan? If you are, you need to look at my last video.
Oh, you should have had your shower by now. We're late.
Yes, he's brushing his teeth for breakfast. His wife is probably still at his mother's-in-law's, plotting the demise of the budgie smuggler. So if you like Red Dwarf, never liked Red Dwarf. Oh well, little we can do about that.
Well, just ignore what you just
Yes, ignore. The Dwarfians around the world, they would love it. Didn't even know it was on, to be honest. Made these enormous vegetable pasties today. Well, I had bacon in it. But they were yum, weren't they?
Mm.
Still got 2 left. What have you been up to today, Tony? Anything exciting? Shopping? We went to Bunnings a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, and it was like old days, packed.
It never settled down there the whole time, got to be honest.
It was full of people, but they were all, let's be honest, they were avoiding each other. Fair enough. Got some gyprock. Remodelling, are we? Building a man cave. A lot of people get frightened of doing a bit of building work. It's not really that complicated. It's just, having the knowledge enough to get it right. Gyprock is fairly forgiving, particularly if you're putting cornice up. Just replacing a wall should be pretty easy. I imagine if you're doing it by yourself, you wouldn't have got the 2.4s. Depends how tall your ceiling is, of course. You can do it, 1 man can do it, but 2 men make it easy, let's be honest. So you must have a brick veneer home. Two 4s, yeah, they can be, they're handable. Certainly wouldn't want the 3.6s. The 2 4s are easy enough. Yeah, you chip them and you mark them and that's easy fixed. A bit of filler. Job done. I get amazed at some of the prices people quote to do little jobs. I know the little jobs, but you might say, well, I need, for you, in your instance, you probably need about 5 sheets. I don't know, if it's a wall, something like that, 5 or 6 sheets. And You know, you say, rip the old wall out, put them up, how much? And they go, oh, $2,000. You go, what? $2,000? Yeah, how long are you going to be here for? Well, a couple of hours? Really? And Gyprock costs like $250? And you're going to earn what? $1,000 an hour? Yes, some people, so look, some people just pay it. I mean, they're just stupid. I'd always encourage people, even if they don't know what things cost, is just get someone to give them a quote and ask them how many sheets would it be and how much cornice and architrave and all that, and say, look, how much is all that going to cost before the labour? There's pretty much an old rule that goes hand in hand. Whatever it costs in material, you can double it in labour. So if it's $1,000 material, it's $1,000 labour. But I've seen some people get ripped off unbelievably because they don't know. Find out what the value of the items are, and then, you know, say to the bloke, mate, $2,000's too much. Maybe it's 600 cash. And they go, all right. So you think, oh, you just lost $400 on it. Hello, Monchichi. Yes. Well, unfortunately, Tony, he doesn't not like Red Dwarf. I think he was born after Red Dwarf. So, Monchichi, I hope you found those links. Because I've watched it. I just watched the second part. It's a movie, really. Goes for about 90 minutes all up. And it's pretty well done. Pretty well done. And they filled a few of the gaps in regards to Cloyster, of course, which is Lister, the god of the cats. But I found it very funny. I'm not going to spoil it for telling you, but... Hola, amigos. ¿Cómo está? Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. If you haven't seen it already, Monchichi, you will enjoy it. I think the Angel is inside watching some show, knock down, build houses, make money type shows. It's unusual, right? It's 16 degrees, which normally isn't that cold, but I feel cold. Yeah, no, they were like, they got some crumbs. I must admit, we weakened and gave them some crumbs. But man, they turned out good. And they're big. They're about, I don't know, 11 inches long. Yes, that sounds like a good idea. Mind you, I'm not sure where you're getting the mango juice unless you've landed on Mango Island. There she is. There's the Angel watching her show. Shipwrecked and comatose. Well, if you're comatose, you won't be sipping anything. You'll just be lying there in the sand. Buttocks deeply encrusted with sand. Crabs nibbling at your toes. Hello, Monchichi. Goodbye, Tony. May the dwarf be with you. Give it a go. Have a look, mate. Go on. Have a look. Yep, that's it. Oh, Mr. Monchichi. Nice to meet you. I think they did it pretty smart because they haven't done anything for a couple of years, but obviously the virus kicked in. Production was supposed to start about the same time the virus did. So they had in the bank this movie they made. You gotta pack up my upgrade bug out bag. Right. Gringo picks up his bag. 3,000 tacos, check. Spices, check. 4 gross of tomatoes, check. 500 pounds of ground beef, check. Man, this bag's getting heavy. 12 and a half hours of work, yes. I've done plenty of them in my time. Yes, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Very funny, very funny. I got the brain of a planet, but no one ever listens to me. Would you like me to give you the equation of life? Or do you want me just to heat your baked beans? Yeah, it's good humour. It's one of those wacky humours. It's like Red Dwarf. If you explain to them it was a sci-fi show, you really shouldn't say that. It's a comedy in space is the best way to describe it. I don't know if you've seen the new bit yet. I won't say anything, but there's a bit of a steal from one movie in there, so see if you can pick it up. That's right. That's the dolphin saying goodbye. So long, and thanks for all the fish. White mice rule the world. Also, some tamales, yes. It surprises me that the churches are shut down. They never closed in Australia. People just didn't go. But houses of worship you can go to, but they've also had a lot of online things with churches all over Australia. Yeah, I think anyone that realises that not gathering in large numbers is still a good idea not to do it. They will go live in about 1 hour. Okay, well, you'll be there, I guess. Greek Orthodox, I used to know a builder. He was a plumber, actually. He was a Greek Orthodox. Man, did they have some feasts, celebrations. They had a big swimming pool, and all the kids, all the Greeks would throw in coins into the pool. I'm talking like 50, 60 bucks worth of coins. Back in the day, that was a lot of money. They always used to... Greeks have one thing that I always admire. They include all of the family in all events. There was no segregation of kids and adults. That's one thing that always stuck with me. Italians are pretty similar, but Greeks more so. They're inclusive of all the family. And if you know what I'm talking about, old Gringo, you'll understand. Great people. Very proud. And we've got many Australians that came from Greece. My best and first ever hamburger was at a Greek milk bar in about 1970. You sit her down, boy, sit down, I'll make you a burger. What's a burger? Shut up, it's coming. I just fell in love with it. Lettuce, tomato, you had some sort of pickled onion in there. And yeah, homemade patty, beautiful. It's funny, where his shop was in my old town, it was knocked down in about, 74, 75, and I think in about that time, Kentucky Fried Chicken built a building where the old Greek burger shop was. Yes, one thing about the Greeks, if you ever get familiar with them and have good friendships, they will just make you fat. They want to keep feeding you. You're not eating enough. Come on, eat some more. Souvlaki, have some more. I had goat for the first time at a Greek wedding. Bloody beautiful. The Greeks like their goat. I do remember first time someone gave me, it was like a garlic sauce that the Greek use a lot. And I'd never tasted garlic. I remember an Italian friend of mine, his father grew it. I knew about it, but I didn't ever try it. It was like a garlic sauce. I thought, geez, this is all right. And then that probably introduced me to garlic. Being a person from the UK as a boy, no one ever used garlic. It was unheard of. And now I eat tons of the stuff. Have done for years. True to believe, it's got medicinal purposes, along with ginger, honey, onions. Yeah, it was a bit of I suppose, looking back, everyone would say the same thing. I remember my grandfather saying, and he was born 1895, at the turn of the century was really exciting. He would explain that, there were cars, never seen them before. Still mainly, he was a footman. In other words, a boy that used to basically put the footstool down on the carriage, and the masters used to jump in and out, and he would have to clean the carriage and clean the horses and things like that. But he said the advancement was just staggering. And I suppose if you weigh up, if you were just a country lad, and he was from Yorkshire, and suddenly he was in the city, and there's all these things that he'd never seen before. Machines, factories. The Industrial Revolution started just before the turn of the century. But it was like, he said, it was just like staggering, seeing things that were, for him, like looking at a spaceship. He'd never seen these things. Washing machines. He's like, what's that? The old copper has been used for hundreds of years in our family. And he's inside the house as a footman, and they go up, and he said, we're told to take the laundry to the laundry room. And it had lots of little concrete sinks, and then it had this machine. He was like, what's that? It's a washing machine. Yep, music coming from a box. A piano. He'd never seen a piano before. Not a great call for it in the Yorkshire Dales. I think one thing he told me that you can imagine, like if you're from the bush or Yorkshire at the time and you eat sheep and whatever, you just grow your own food. And he goes in and he's cleaning the carriage one day, and the lady of the house came out with her 3 dogs on leads, and all these dogs have coats and little ribbons. And he was looking thinking, what the fuck is that? Animals were thought of either food or workhorses. They would work. Even dogs worked. These dogs were all trimmed pretty coats and ribbons. He said, I said, I wish you'd have kept a diary. He said, oh, it's in my head. A gas motor. I do remember one of the first motors for milling in Yorkshire that he told me about was actually near a weir, but the weir wasn't strong enough to completely. They built this thing and the stones were too heavy to be turned, so they would combine the wheel from the water wheel, with a ring in the middle with a horse that would be walked around, so sort of extra power, literally. And he said there were horses there that were born in that area and, moved that wheel for their whole life until they passed away. And when the water wasn't running, they could still use the horse to grind. Guinevere, wherefore art thou? Don't you mean Romeo? Good evening. I suppose, like I say, if you look at the speed of advancement, definitely from about 1860 to about 1920 was staggering. Absolutely. Oh, yes. No, well, Guinevere never went to Camelot. Because that's because the other knight took her away. Sir Lancelot. I just be a peasant worker outside Camelot. I just tend to the horse shit. I pile it up and sell it on weekends. I did read an interesting book from a guy in about 1990. He was about 80 years old. It was talking about the advancements of machinery throughout his life. So he would have been born late 1890s, I guess. And he made a startling comment, which I actually get. If you think about washing machines, well, they were done before the 20th century. And all these other machines, lawnmowers, etc., etc. And he said, of all the years that have passed, the machines have got better, but they're the same damn machines. He said, we seem to hit about the 1920s to 30s an advancement in technology, and all we've ever done since then is build better versions of them. And he's right. Oh, yeah, look, I mean, I think living on a farm is the ultimate. Yep, still a lot of Australian farms with all those leather belts lying around, pulleys. There's a shearing shed at a place called New Marracara in Western Australia, and it's been worked. It was the main area for colonisation, which was strange because it was about 50 kilometres inland from the sea. But that's where the governor had his house, and it's this really big house. And the original shearing shed has been preserved. I swear to you, it's about 5'8" high. I just had to stoop all the way through. But it had all the old gearing, the hand shears, you name it, all of it. And everything had been kept. And next to it was the brand new shearing shed, which looked nothing like the old system. Yes, she liked a little bit of Lancelot. Lancelot, the king's not here. Would you like to plait my hair? Of course, darling. Don't call me darling. Yes, a simpler life. And I wonder if many people today, if given an opportunity to live a simple village life, small number of people, fresh water, grow your own food, grow seasonally. Everyone chips in. Like, people don't realise the whole village would chip in when it came to harvest. They weren't farmers for most of the year, but they would all chip in and help. And people would chip in and help when it came to sheep and shearing and things like that. And then they went back to being what they were, shopkeepers, barbers, blacksmiths. But that's how communities used to work. They used to collectively work together. A lot of times money was never changed hands. It was a case of, well, I've given you about 40 hours of my work. You need to repay that during the year. And that's what they used to do. Time was monetary. Air conditioning is not new, really. When you think about the principles of air conditioning, it goes back thousands of years. Oh dear, Guinevere's a little bit frisky this evening. How did your breasts go today? I mean, in a culinary sense, of course. Did you beat them out a little bit? I don't expect a video today, but I mean, you were going to crumb your breasts. Many of people are waiting. Yes, that's a little bit, yes. John F. Kennedy and the modern day Camelot. Hello, Scarlett. They did. They also had, it was architecturally designed in some of the palaces in Egypt where they had like steps and a very narrow hallway, and then an opening. What that did was draft air up, so it was quite cool. Need to get breadcrumbs, okay? I've always got breadcrumbs. Because I don't come from Camelot, I come from Camelot. So I see, Scarlett, that all America, nothing to do with Elon Musk space mission, took off brilliantly today. I did see a replay. It's very, very good. Tongue in cheek. Looked a very efficient system, SpaceX. And I think shortly, could be wrong, but I think in another few hours they'll be docking at ISIS. Yeah, I don't mind the protesters. I think they have every right to protest. I don't appreciate the looters and, you know, small groups causing havoc, because that's all it is, really. I did mention about 5 or 6 weeks ago that there would be violence on the street, and this is not all about the terrible death of that African American. It's partly, but it's a venting coming out from lots of things. Yep, you'll see mobs, but you'll find that instigators could be small numbers. They caught a lot of the looters and people doing damage, which is good. And the thing about at the moment is they probably have court dates a year away because the courts aren't really operating. Yep, we have what we call a Kalgoorlie cooler. If you can imagine very thin, a very tight chicken wire, 2 layers, and inside dried seaweed, and inside that as well, black pipe with water running through it. And you've got a whole big box of it. You go into yourself, you turn on the water, and with a bit of wind, it's bloody freezing. Mate of mine had one. I said, Jesus, cold. Well, might be a good idea, Scarlett, but the difference is maybe there's someone just walking in amongst them who has nothing to do with it and gets shot. That would be an injustice. I don't even know if that's true. I think that would be a stupid thing to do. I don't think Joe Biden would approve of that. I don't think Donald Trump would approve of that. I think you're right, old gringo. It's a build-up of many things. Americans aren't treated well by the powers that be at all. And this sad death of the African American, which is shocking, at best shocking, definitely malicious in what the intent was done by the officers. And I hope they face justice. And if there's a death penalty in that particular state, I hope they face that. But there's a lot more of that venting in regards to a lot of things. Yep, I suppose swamp sucker, cooler. Yep, same sort of thing, my Chi-Chi. Just if you want to Google Kalgoorlie cooler, it was used to make fridges, similar method. Keep meat fresh. It was just using the power of the wind and water. I think you find, like I say, there are arseholes everywhere. But most people are good people. They're fair, they're reasonable. But there's a percentage of people that will always be arseholes and take advantage of situations or create havoc to take advantage. Some say the Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is actually the president. Well, I'm not sure. Rome is burning and Nero is playing the fiddle. Maybe Mitch is the leader. I wonder what he's going to do. But you have a lot of Americans really angry and over lots of things. This is like one of those cracks in the damn wall that opened up.
Better give Scarlett a star. She's back.
She's back. I had a phone call from the Pentagon. All right, yeah, okay. No worries. She's got people that know people. You know what I mean?
I'll get my people to call your people. Well,
Obama's operating a shadow government. Well, not sure whether the shadow government operates on a golf course, but could be, yeah. Each hole might be like a Get Smart sort of tunnel. You can go down into the underground black secret government third layer. I've said for decades, do not trust your government to do anything for you. They're not there for that purpose. Of course, when you elect someone, you think, well, that person said they're going to do this and change that, and nothing ever happens. Yes, that's it.
It's all over the world.
It's like a magic show. It's like the bean under the cup, Mon Chi-Chi. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. They're waiting to be a message from the Kremlin. Chaos, this might sound a strange statement, chaos is sometimes a good thing. It keeps people on their toes. I'm not talking about the general population, I'm talking about those in power. Because there's one thing I assure you right now. In the Oval Office, Trump is sitting there with a pencil, chewing it on the end, thinking, what do I do now? And I'm serious. No one's got any answers to this. Will this flare up even more? I think it will. I'll be honest, I think it will. And to threaten the population, like, oh, I'll send in the army, not a good move. We need to go back to the Constitution and have a look what it says. You're going to bring the army out into the public in the United States of America? Bad move.
Like we're saying. Ugh.
Because on statistics alone, of the about 300 and something million Americans, 120 million Americans have 4 or more weapons, which outweighs anything that could be produced by an army. And under the Constitution, it's your Constitution in America, I've read it, I know what it says. Oh, I don't think China are going to get out of this any lighter. I think there could be one of the strangest things you're seeing in the US could unfold all around the globe. And one place that if it did unfold would be real chaos is China. If there was ever a country at a period in its existence that matches things that have happened in history for revolution, China is at that point. Think about it. Hong Kong, Taiwan, the rest of the world, Tibet. I don't know whether you guys have been reading, and I do a bit of research. At the moment, there are thousands of Chinese troops on the border of India in 2 portions of different border points. And there have been exchanges already. China is attacking the world on a level never seen before. Generally, when a country does that, there is retaliation from within the country, not its enemies. I think if you weigh up venting, old Gringo brought it up, I would rather see millions of the people on the street in the US, and you're going to inevitably have looting and burning. But there's been nothing major, all right? There's been lots of areas damaged and lots of money will be lost. I'm not underplaying that at all. But I'd rather see the population vent itself by going out, yelling and screaming and saying they're really pissed off. Like in the movie Newsfront, when he leans out the window and says, I'm sick and tired, I'm not going to take it anymore. That helps. To vent helps. Will it solve anything? I'm not sure. Man, I don't know where you get your stuff from, Buttercup, sometimes. I've got to get you here on my veranda one day, and we'll thrash out these conspiracy theories. I think if I was in the Congress of China, I'd be a little bit worried. The rest of the world is pissed off at them for obvious reasons. Taiwan is pissed off. Hong Kong is on the verge of revolution. Chinese troops on the border of India in 2 places. Yeah, you would have to say things are not all good. And China, for hundreds of years, has been known for diplomacy. Well, it's gone past that now into coercion, threatening countries. That's not the China I remember. This is a new China. And I can tell you what it means, as far as I can see, in my opinion. China wants to be the superpower of the planet. Whether it buys it or coercion takes it, they're making their move. No question. One country's sitting quietly at the moment and having lots of trouble with the virus, of course, but very powerful. It's sitting and saying next to nothing, and that's Russia. We are, without doubt. And you can remember these words I'm telling you, like Winston Churchill, we'll fight them on the beaches, we'll fight them in the pubs. No, I'm telling you that 2020 is the beginning of the new Cold War on a scale we've never seen before. Countries like North Korea and Iran will be insignificant in the faces of what's going to be happening for the next few years at least. We are in a Cold War. No, I don't want to see a video. I want to see the weapons, Buttercup. I want them laid on my big table out here. I want you to explain. I want you blindfolded and dismantling one, putting them back together in 30 seconds. Hey, Ying Jing Ping. It sounds like a board game when you think about it. There's a lot of things to be said about Putin. One is he never wants to let go of power. He's manipulated the system for decades. However, it is a fairly stable Russia in whatever format you want to take that. I'm sure any weapon's not a joke. There are weapons that are developed that if they wish to, from a satellite, they could take you out right now. No doubt in my mind at all. It may just be a fuzzy feeling. What's that? Gone. So there are weapons that we won't know about. Not supposed to know about them. I think that's coming, old gringo. I think there will be a natural affinity for Western cultures. And look, we get on really well. Australians get on really well with Southeast Asia, except China. We have great relations with all the other countries. You name them, we have great relations with them. We have trade envoys from both countries go to each other all over the place. Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines. We're good. But China is waving a big stick at Australia. And lots of these other Southeast Asian countries don't like it. They don't like the idea of China pushing their way through Southeast Asia. So we have allies in Southeast Asia based over many, many years, 70, 80 years of trade between different countries. So there's going to come a push not only from Western cultures to China, but from Asians to China. If only we could put our weapons down. Then I hear the scream of people saying, Smart Second Amendment, to keep the weapons. Okay, just a suggestion. One guy saying guns don't kill people, and I stopped him halfway through and said, yeah, but forks don't do that much damage. On the movie news front as well. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. How is everyone feeling today? Everyone's well, healthy? No aches, pains? All the bits that should be moving and wobbling around are still moving and wobbling? There's one thing in the Northern Hemisphere that unfortunately you've got no control over this. It gets bloody cold. And I do remember my mother and her grandmother as well telling us that it's the same for hundreds of years. About a third of your wage would go on keeping you just warm. That's all. Central heating, coal fires, you name it. A third of your wage will go on just keeping warm. So you have a disadvantage in the Northern Hemisphere because it's bloody cold for a long time of the year. And you've got to pay for it. Yeah, but I'd still prefer to get a fork thrown at me, gringo. than a 45 bullet any day. There's lots of people, you would have seen them on YouTube. There was a movement about 5 or 6 years ago, got quite big. It was minimalistic living. And if you want to have a hunt around YouTube, you'll see lots of videos. And there are a lot of good pointers about a minimalist, and that is that they use what they have to. They go along the lines of need instead of want. That would just about sum up a minimalist. You're talking about growing their own food, having their own energy, but only using X amount of energy. Yep, you pay 200 quid a month for gas, electric. We don't. But that's the disadvantage of living in the north. And I know anthropologists have done studies that if the earth had to go back to living that type of lifestyle, very little supply of energy from anywhere, in other words, either your own energy or no energy, without question, the population on the planet would fall by about at least 80% over time. There'd be things like medications not available, medicines, people dying of toothache, just things like that. But you pay for what you get. If Buttercup didn't have a house that she lives in now, but lived underground, about at least 6 feet from the top surface down, it was all made into a home, and there were skylights that come down. Looks like a home. Doesn't look any dark cave type thing. She would be paying nothing a month to keep warm, because the planet in its natural state will keep you at between 22 and 26 degrees Celsius, no matter where you go. So you could, a future city, if built primarily living quarters underground and working quarters underground, you could still have big factories on top and all that sort of thing and road systems, but you lived underground. You have a natural insulation, free, given to you freely by the planet. And it's not a new thing. Have a look at some documentaries about people that lived in caves underground and caves into a mountain. I don't know if you remember J.P. Morgan, Buttercup, I'm sure you do. He was building a tower for Nicholas Tesla. Nicholas was a bit sneaky. He wasn't telling J.P. everything, because what Nicholas Tesla was building was a free energy machine. And J.P. Morgan found out about that and stopped the money. It never got built. Got half built, but J.P. Morgan didn't want free energy. There's no money in supplying free energy. And if all your energy needs could be met, think about this carefully. Would you ever have to work for anyone else in your life? The answer is no. If all your energy needs were met, you don't have to work for anyone. You can work for yourself, grow your own foods, raise your own animals in a leisurely manner. No rushing 9 till 5, no jumping on a treadmill. Energy and the price put on it makes us jump on the treadmill. Yep, that'd be a great idea, Buttercup. It's like one of those weird things. I taught my kids when they were little, we'd get a big umbrella, put it on the beach, push it into the sand, dig a hole about just on near the edge of the water but back a bit, and it's like 46 degrees Celsius. It's hot. But we dig down about 1.5 feet, And you sit in that hole and it's like 22 degrees. There's plenty of natural insulation on the planet. Beautiful part of the world, the Orkney Isles. Oh, there are plenty of underground secure areas for rich people. We know that's true. We know that the United States government has about 50 of them, and there are designated people that are going to be able to go there in times of crisis, but not you and not me. All right, drive carefully, old Ringo.
Carefully.
I did find Red Dwarf, Buttercup. It's like a movie. I've watched it now. There were 2 parts to it. And it's on Daily Motion, and I did a little video. And I had not heard of it until I'd asked you a question. You came up with that, so, and then I did a bit of hunting around. I found it. I'm not even sure if you're a dwarfie, whether you like it, but I did send you both those links. Yep, Cuba Peter you were talking about.
I've been there.
Monchichi, yeah.
I've been under there.
It's very
Never
dry.
again.
Dry as a bone, mate. You wouldn't know anyone was there unless you drove right up, because there's very little on top of the ground. It's too bloody hot. There are hotels there underground.
Also, what's the other place? Because I've been there and the other one, the other opal mine and gemstone. I can't think of the name of it.
Lightning Ridge.
Yeah, but yeah. But there's another one.
Why do they call it Lightning Ridge? Because you get lots of thunderstorms and lots of lightning on the ridge.
Where it's that hot, go to the corner store, buy a tub of ice cream and eat it outside the shop.
Hello, Buttercup's off. Here we go. Yep, there she goes. There are bases on the moon and Mars. Reading a book on it currently. Whilst we cavemen fight each other for breadcrumbs. Yeah, that's true. In fact, you can't even fight for breadcrumbs because you haven't got any, Buttercup. You already told me. You're crumbless. We do not deserve to go to another planet until we get this planet sorted. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And now I've no doubt hundreds of people will see my little video. I've only done about 3 Red Dwarf videos on YouTube ever, and they always end up having thousands of people hit it. Maybe not this one, because I just gave a subtle cryptic clue on how to find this one, so I know how YouTube works. They might still tap me on the wrist for this one, but
Why are you giving information? Why would YouTube say anything?
well, they can't, because I cryptically just said if you have a daily emotion, of course, which could mean, you know, bowel movement or something like that. So here's a good question for those that believe the planet is owned by a few people, and I believe that. Could you, in any format, become part of the elite? What would it take for you to do to get to the point that you're treated and accepted as one of the elites? Is it possible?
Now you've got to be born into it. Probably into marriage as well.
Could always change your name by default to something like Rothschild. I don't know, that could help maybe.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, that's a very handy name to have.
In what regard?
Well, they own about a third of the planet. The Rothschild dynasty goes back a long time.
Yeah, they take
My
the
Jesus,
rule
I
of-
could not eat a baby, and I have no scales of liver skin. So no. Funny things are happening to the Queen at the moment. Darling, what's wrong? I'm getting a little bit scaly. Look at my bottom. It's all sort of long, pointy scales. What does this mean? I don't know. Have you thought of washing yourself? I will make a message to the people of England, Great Britain. My husband and I are truly lizard people. But don't take it to heart.
Sound. I really hate that sound.
Here's a good hypothetical. Buttercup, I've just sent you a button. It's been opened. You're sitting on your table now. It's a big red button. You've just got to lift a plastic cover off it, pull a lever down, and then press the button. That will eliminate all evil on earth. Do you press the button or not? Is she pressing the button? I don't know. Give her time. Give her time.
She's thinking.
She's lifting up the plastic casing. I can see it here from the satellite imagery.
Her hands hovering.
She's chomping on a haggis and drinking a Guinness, looking at the button. She knows all she has to do is lean on it, and all the evil on the planet would go. If you did press the button and you eliminated all known evil on this planet right now, there would be a replacement for them people, and evil would return instantaneously. You're dead right, Monchichi. That is what I truly believe. With the badness comes the goodness. You can't distinguish between badness if apparently there isn't any. Yes, needs to be yin and yang. I wouldn't either, Buttercup, because it's like the old saying. Truly is like the old saying. Better the devil you know. I have a very simplistic view. Our modern lifestyle is not in tune with our humanity. It doesn't fit. Getting up at 5, having a shower, putting on a shirt, getting your suitcase, driving an hour, getting to an office, not talking to anyone all day, but doing what you need to do, getting back, driving another hour, come back home exhausted, put the microwave on, which I would never do personally, ping a meal, sit in front of the television, fall half asleep, go back to bed quickly and realise it's 5 a.m. already. The modern world is not in tune with our humanity at all. Our future will be a virtual reality. It is already, Scarlett. Your virtual reality talking to me. You watch virtual reality television on occasions, and you listen to virtual reality on radio and newspaper clippings, all provided by other people you don't know, and information given to you that you're not aware of if it's true or false. But you live in a virtual reality right now. I'll give you a great example on Chi Chi, and that is its perception. You talk about you being viewed by a dozen people, and they're yelling and screaming, yeah, you're killing the planet, you're chopping the tree down. Little do they know, and I know exactly what you'd be doing, is chopping down a dead standing tree. It's not producing anything for the planet. It's dead. In fact, it's dangerous. But they don't know that. The ignorant will yell and scream and shout and chain themselves to that dead tree and say, you're a murderer, you're taking the oxygen from the planet. A little bit of knowledge is very dangerous. There was an old gardener, Keith someone, who did a TV show years ago. And he said that he was talking about this virtual reality world that we live in now. And he said the only reality is when you have dirt on your hands and your back aches at night slightly. In other words, you haven't pushed yourself too far. And you eat a good meal. And you sleep well. That's being in tune with humanity. That's who we are. Let's get down to the nitty-gritties of what are we. We are a species of animal living on this planet. Whether we believe in a God or not is irrelevant. We still need to live, work and eat each day. But we're taught to jump on a treadmill by people we'll never meet and do tasks that we don't really enjoy doing. There's no fulfillment in doing any of it. But if you could just tune back into humanity and work when you have to, and during winter work very little because you've worked hard during summer. That's what used to happen. That's what being in tune with not only humanity, but the planet as well. We may one time, long when we're all gone, be a time where that has to happen. We have to reset back to the planet. It's a great planet, can provide us many things. No, that's true. There are actually, I used to be a tallyman for a timber company. I didn't work in the forest, but the guys that would come in did. And they would often say that some of their weeks were just going through thinning because not only people don't understand that 3 or 4 small saplings, they might be 60 feet high, but they're choking the life out of the bigger trees that will produce good timber. So they have a specific job 2 or 3 weeks of the year going around culling the trees that are sucking the life out of the ground. And guess what used to happen hundreds of years ago? Exactly the same thing. They weren't called environmental terrorists. They were just preserving the forest in the best condition it could be in. It is true words spoken there, but exercise is food for the body. If you don't move it,
You lose it.
yep. Well, if you're aware of all the crap, Buttercup, things will change. What we don't have now, and you've just touched on it there, Scarlett, is that we don't have a sense of creativity. And that is mental stimulation. That is like a caveman 50,000 years ago holding his hand up while Scarlett spits some white ochre over the top, and they both look back and say, geez, that's all right. I like that. Let's do a couple more. Truly. If we have no creativity allowed to perform, We are machines. We may as well be eating Soylent Green. Some of you are, as Buttercup's highlighted. You've been fooled eating crap, watching crap and being crap. That should be a line in a movie, Buttercup. I'll save it for my next script. Yep, there are very few people, Monchi, that see, I know exactly where you're at. Yet you'd like to make a few bucks out of it, for sure. But that's not the process for you. The process is creating something, turning something into something beautiful that you can already see before you get a chisel on it. Because you get that good at what you're doing, you can actually see the grains on the outside and where they're going and how the cut shows where and what you should do. That is the ultimate creativist. You are literally visioning what the end product will be before you do it. And it's like an artist, a painter, a sculptor, even street art, it's still being creative. And one of the things, I'm sure it's happened, in all of these riots and unrest, I'm guaranteeing 100%, there will be more graffiti on walls than you've ever seen in your life since the 60s, I imagine, because that is a form of expressionism. Some of it won't be very creative, it'll be just like words like F off, but it's still an outlet for people. And people go, oh yeah, you can paint over it quite easily. She's on the red phone to the Pentagon. She's telling us she's away from the keyboard, but in fact, she's got the headset on, she's got the Morse code going. There's nothing in fighting the good fight. It's knowing who you're fighting. And in our modern world, we are confused deliberately to think our enemy is not what it is. One of the basics of policing that's been lost. I grew up in a small part of the UK, and we all knew the doctor, the dentist, the grocer, the baker, the butcher, the policeman. They all lived in the same area. That needs to come back. In other words, if, say, I'll just pick a spot in, let's say the Bronx. Well, the only policemen that can work in the Bronx are people who live in the Bronx, because everyone knows everyone. And then you have a sense of community, as it used to be. But that's not how it's done today. And that's one big failing. If you're going to have community policing, you have to have those police live in the community. I don't know if Mr. Trump's listening, but that would be good advice for you to pass on. Yeah, but it's the creative process of what you're doing, Monchi, that you can't explain that to people. It's your outlet. It's what you do. You're in tune with your own creativity. But there will come a time on this planet when everyone will go, ding, light bulb moment. Perhaps we should live in tune with the planet and not chase the word growth, but work along the lines of sustainability. Whatever that means, it means maybe over time we have less people on the planet, just through natural attrition. If that's the way it goes, fine. I don't want to see any eugenics taking place, but unless we realise that we have to be part of the planet, we can't just keep using it. And in fact, we're not using it. The people that own the planet use it. I would truly not miss the internet if it disappeared. It's something we do, and I get used to it being gone, because I was around before it was here. There are people born in between that have never known anything but electronic devices. But I live without them. I have them, but if they disappeared, so be it. I'll give you an answer to that one, Buttercup. 2 bottles of whiskey and 3 blondes. Just kidding. It's like if asked, what makes you stressed? And if you're honest, you'd put a whole list of things down. It would all be to do with the world we live in. You would never write down being anxious about squirrels or butterflies or dolphins, birds. You would mention things like work, commuting on a bus, eating terrible food. They're the things you'd write down. But you never talk about nature as making you anxious, because it never is. Unless there's a big white shark just happened to be in your vicinity when you're skinny dipping.
Yeah, that's right, or a stingray.
Then you're allowed to become a bit anxious. But that's a natural anxiety. Yep, same here, mon choo-choo. It's a world of me, me, me. They're trained to be selfish. They truly are. Has your son, Buttercup, ever had just a simple massage? Or a Reiki, maybe? Something self-indulgent that he can relax. Because the one thing that is our humanity is human touch. Doesn't have to be sexual, but human touch. Very powerful. And something that's been lost in most people's lives. Well, it's good every now and then to have a massage, but it's not the be-all and end-all. But what I'm saying is sometimes we forget to treat ourselves. Caring for others probably is all of our priorities. And sometimes you forget about you. And I wouldn't be popular with many people, but if I was in charge of education, the only thing I would teach people, students, is things they're interested in. The ways and means to find out that at about the age of 8 to 10 years of age. And obviously formal education for the first few years of primary school, mathematics, the basics. But if we had a world of people that were doing things they liked to do instead of doing things they had to do, it'd be a better world. They'd be much better at what they do. What the world needs now, join in whenever you feel free to. Love, sweet love, and that's the only thing. There's such a little love. Well, I think I bored you enough. We'll take you over to Mystic Angels now and her last half hour of broadcast. Mystic Angel, it's all to you.
No.
Sorry?
No, I'm listening to you.
I'm done. My work here is done. I may make this my final broadcast,
Oh, God, here we go.
and you will be the one that will do them, and I'll just sit in the background making coffee. Exactly, Monchichi. Get someone to think for themselves, you hit gold. Try and teach something that they're not interested in, they'll never retain it. Yes, I may do a sabbatical. I may leave for the winter. Hibernate in my
You sound
cave.
like the man in the can.
Hibernate in my cave.
Oh, you're going to do some gardening, Buddy.
But one day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me I'm not mistaken in mine. Good night.
That's pretty deep.
It's Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, they're all going now.
There you go. Bye.
Yeah.
See ya. Turn the light out. Sweep the floor before you go.
Put the chairs back.
So from Mystic Angel. That's it. Okay. And from me, until we meet again on some sunny day, far, far away, I will remember you. Will you remember me?
Oh, God.
What?
So dramatic.
But it was good.
So dramatic. So
She's round it.
deep.
Take two. One day I shall come back. Good night, and may we meet again.